So we should be live right now. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I want to thank you for being here with us tonight. We'll just wait for a couple of seconds until we make sure everyone is connected on Facebook, Instagram, all the groups where we are broadcasting right now. To be completely transparent with you, it's a special night. I don't know why we waited so much. I wanted to do this for a long time because I'm sure that tonight's interview will touch a lot of souls in many ways. And I have the honor and the privilege to bring in front of you someone that truly had such a beautiful impact in my life. So after years and years of working together, we are finally live to some people that didn't have access to Marc. I had the blessing and the honor together with people that were part of my organization to have access to him since I was 26 years old. But there are so many people outside our environment that didn't meet him personally. So just to give you a bit of information about our guest tonight. So Marc, I consider him to be by far the best trainer in the industry of network marketing. He's been a networker himself. He's built organizations all around the world. But other than that, he's truly such an amazing human being, such an amazing leader, and such an amazing, first of all, personal development coach. Because at the base of his foundation and all the massive, massive, massive success he had in his career, it's about him truly being an amazing individual and obviously guiding other people to do the same thing. So Marc has been the one of the top producers in the industry. He's truly a legend in what we do. We were colleagues for 7 years in a beautiful international project where he was the director of training of that company. And there are, I don't know how many hundreds of people that made millions of dollars with my guidance, Marc's guidance. The company went to billions of dollars in sales. But more important than that, I've seen literally, without exaggeration, hundreds of thousands of people's lives being changed through Marc's guidance. And I'm not just talking about sales and just financially. Obviously, financial success is a result of our inner world and how we grow as human beings in all aspects of our existence. But more than that, I have truly seen individuals transforming completely their lives mentally, emotionally, spiritually, health-wise, relationship-wise, and just becoming such amazing human beings. And as a personal note, as I told you, I met Marc when I was 26 years old, and he truly had such a beautiful, profound impact in my life. He's the one that put me the first time on a stage with thousands of people, and I'm so grateful for him. But more than that, he had a beautiful role in helping me sculpting, if I can say like that, my character, my life, my relationships, and everything that happened from there on. And if I can have a masculine entity as a father, let's say, because I lost my dad when I was 15. For sure, Marc is that kind of person. I cannot wait all the time to meet him, share intimate information. We laugh about it. And I just love him with all my heart. And because he's such an amazing human being, and he's still on the field with doing the best of what he does. I just kind of wanted you guys to have access to him. So you get to know him personally and get a little bit of the blessing I had the honor to get for the last 7 years. So Marc, welcome, my brother, and thank you.
Well, thank you. My goodness, that was quite an introduction, brother. I really appreciate your kind words.
So Marc, there are some people here that know you that have been part of what we did for some years, but I guess most of the people don't know you. And either they are business people or people that are into spirituality and people that are just, looking in these challenging times, if we can call it like that, this
Sure.
pandemic to, just grow, understand more about life, about themselves, and just get out of the situation the best way possible on all aspects. So before we get to some questions, I couldn't wait to ask you, can you share a bit about your story so the people who don't know you get to know you personally?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my story is simple. I grew up in a little town in the USA, town called Newton, New Jersey, and it was like if you know who Norman Rockwell is, it was like a Norman Rockwell painting. It was just pure Americana, more cows than people in the little neighborhood where I grew up. And, I grew up with a very average mother and father, really awesome. They loved me and poured into me, but they just didn't know they didn't know, if that makes sense. They really had no personal development, no leadership development, and neither one of them had even gone to college. So, they did the best they could with me, but what they told me, because they didn't go to college, is if I went to college and got a degree, boom, everything would be set. Well, I went to college, got a degree, and not much changed. I was offered a really average job and I was frustrated. So I ended up going into sales with direct selling, which is door to door selling, which is something I never thought I would do. But the Lord works in mysterious ways. I did that for almost 7 years. And then I was turned on to network marketing, where not only do you sell, but you can build teams. And that was it. Like, what the what? Like, it took me about 7 or 8 months before I finally started going to trainings. But what really transformed my life was trainings. That's why this is what I do with a living, because I didn't just learn how to invite, present, close, train, promote. I didn't just learn the how to's of my business. I really learned how to grow and become the person I want to be, like Razvan said, mentally, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I learned things that made me a way better parent than I would have ever been, a much better everything than I would have ever been, how to control my thoughts and emotions, how to have a healthy body. I'm 60 years old right now. And, in a lot of ways, I'm healthier now than I was when I was 25 years old, which is almost unbelievable. But it's very intentional. A lot of it was very deliberate, because I learned from what I started doing was learning from people who are masters. I stopped listening to anyone unless they were an absolute master. So financially, my business took off. I've been very blessed, made lots and lots of money. But more importantly, what I love doing is pouring into other people all these incredible things that I learned. And they're not common. They're not taught in what we call grade school or high school. I think you call it primary and secondary school in Europe. It just, unless you know someone who knows these things, you're not going to really find out about them. So I became really passionate, because I realized at one point, if I had met my mentor, one primary teacher I had, and if he hadn't poured all this stuff into me, if he hadn't held me accountable, if he hadn't been tough on me and pushed me, I would have never gotten to where I was. So that's kind of what I've done for many, many years now, a couple of decades, is I really look for people that are hungry about having a better quality life. And as best I can, I share with them everything I learned. And ironically, Razvan, when you talk about the last year, year and a half, it's amazing to me how many people I've worked with who have learned all this stuff. And now, during the time when we need it the most, I mean, forget about how many people got COVID and got sick. How many people have been mentally and emotionally wiped out by what's going on? You know what I mean? It's been a very difficult time to be alive on this planet. Hopefully, it's coming to an end sometime soon. But in reality, this is the ultimate time in my life that I've applied all the things that I've learned. And even though I teach it and I've taught it for decades, don't kid yourself. I myself needed to go back to school and remember all the things that I learned, so I could get through this time, and actually not just get through it, but go back to the concept of thriving while other people are just trying to survive. So that's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm at.
So how do you see? It just came like, how do you see human existence? Because you have. So I didn't tell you, but Marc has beautiful two girls, and I learned so many things from him about parenting. And he's been very successful, obviously, through his career and financially. But how do you see your life as an experience? Because I think many people need to get back to the essence of treasuring life and the gift that life is, even if we have this pandemic right now.
Yeah, I think, again, it's interesting. Human existence is so, I always talk about human nature. And human nature, there's certainly incredible things about human nature. You know what I mean? Like when people are having a difficult time, like you'll see people pull together and like support each other in ways they normally wouldn't. But then again, most times human nature works against this. People have fear. Just think about how fear cripples people. I remember reading a
Mhm.
book years ago, and one page of the book, there was one sentence on the page, and it said, "What would you do if you weren't afraid?"
Mm.
And it was like, wow. Like, think about how fear dominates right now. And here's the other thing: uncertainty. Those are the two. Right now, it's the most uncertain time in the history of mankind. And how many people are control freaks? They want to control things. And when you evolve and become more aware, you realize you can't control anything, like
Exactly.
nothing. Like things could change in your life in a millisecond. And maybe we have the illusion of thinking we're in control, but just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you're in control. Just because whatever you have a big house or you have whatever you feel like you have a lot of abundance, it could go away. And life is cyclical. The stock market goes up and down, real estate goes up and down, money
Exactly.
goes up and down, relationships go up and down. I know people have been happily married for 50 years, God bless them, but it's not like it's been a perfect deal all 50 years. So I think what we have to understand is our human nature does work against us a lot. We don't like think about this. Humans don't like change. We want everything to
Mhm.
be the way that it's been. And right now, as we're sitting here doing this Zoom, or it's not a Zoom, this yard, we're using a different
Yeah,
technology. But the bottom line is, we're doing a technology that didn't exist probably 5 years
exactly.
ago. I mean, it's think about how in the last 10 years, technology's dramatically changed lives. There's going to be a lot of people out of work. Robotics is going to replace a lot of people's jobs, whether you like it or not. So, right now is the ultimate time you have got to be willing to change. And people don't like changing. So, the human
Mhm.
existence is beautiful, but it's also, man, people got to wake up and realize that you can't stop studying when you're 20 years old. Like, I don't care how much history, science, English, math, whatever, biology you learn. We need to learn and focus on what's happening and look what's coming in front of us and always be in student mode, be willing to learn. I mean, I'm reading a book right now. I'm always reading a book. There's always more to learn than we could ever possibly know.
Indeed. And it's beautiful. I wanted to ask you something because you started so beautifully talking about your family background and your childhood, and obviously you honor your parents. But in the same time, I know what kind of effect you had on my life when I came to the first events, realizing some of the also childhood traumas, but I would say specifically programming that we get when we are
Yeah.
children and how that is influencing our life subconsciously after that. So, can you give a word on that, please? How you see
Yeah, well,
it?
I mean, I always go back and talk about Pavlov. Most people have heard of Pavlov's dogs, and
Mm.
he rang the bell and put the meat out, and the dogs became classically conditioned. He could ring the bell after about a week, and even though there was no meat there, the dogs would salivate as if it was there. So if that happened in 1 week, if dogs who are clearly not as bright as humans can be programmed in 1 week, how long does it take to program a human? See, school has more of an impact on us than we could even possibly imagine. Because by the time you graduate high school, secondary school, the average person globally has spent more than 14,000 hours in a classroom. Now, if you're programmed in 7 days, imagine what happens in 14,000 hours. I'll give you a simple example. Someone asks you a question, you need to give an answer. Because if you're in school and the teacher asks you a question and you ask them a question in return, is that going to work out? Someone asks you a question, your mom, your dad, an authority figure asks you a question, you need to give an answer. And if you don't, you get in trouble. You go in the principal's office, you get slapped, you go in timeout. So as an adult in sales, every time someone asks me a question, I ask them a question back. And you must learn. It's not natural. Again, what I always share with people, a great analogy is when you go skiing, the last thing, the first time you get on a ski mountain, you're going to want to do to stop is lean forward. That is the least logical thing you could possibly do. But if you know how to ski, that's how you slow yourself. You dig your edges of your skis and you lean
Mm.
forward. Most people, if they want to stop on skis, they're going to lean back. And when you lean back, you accelerate and lose your balance. So people have got to understand you've got to learn the right way to do things. So to go back to your specific question, childhood programming, I got news. I had wonderful mom and dad. A lot of people didn't have a great growing up situation. And the impact that those formative years have on us is mind boggling. That's the program, that we have coming up here soon that you've gone
Mhm.
through. We spend the first day. Here's what we do the first day of the training that's coming up. Think of it this way, think of your brain as a hard drive, and garbage in, garbage out. So who had the keyboard and programmed your brain for the first 10 or 15 years of your life? And it's amazing because whatever we learn when we're young, we just assume that's the way it should be. So what if a lot of the data that was typed into your brain when you were young was wrong? Did you have people in your life who said, you know, you'll never amount to anything? What makes you think you can do that? No one in our family has ever done that before. So all of these things that maybe weren't even intentional have impacted you. And for many people, they're still impacting you to this day. So what you can learn how to do is, just like you would with a hard drive, delete, 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 delete. I mean, I know that you were taught some stuff. I won't get into specifics, but we've had lots of conversations where you told me some of the things that were programmed into your hard drive. And I'm like, it's amazing you were even functioning as an adult, let alone thriving, because man, stuff can screw you up that you get in your childhood. So if you don't go to an event like we're talking about, processing that and getting rid of that, and if nothing else, realizing that whatever you were told when you were young isn't necessarily true. If someone told you you're lazy, that's not necessarily true. That was that one person's opinion. If you weren't really good at something when you were young, what does Einstein say? If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to think it's a failure. So it's like maybe you've never been put in the right position in your life to really thrive and succeed. But I'll tell you this, and you know this, the past shouldn't determine the future. But if you are caught up in this, I'm no good, I'm not successful, I've never been successful, then your past is determining your future. I always tell people, it's like, let me ask a question. When you walk in the room, you walk in a room, right? Like people walk into the room. I go, was there a point in your life when you couldn't walk, when you were crawling? Obviously. So could you imagine if you're a year old and you go, oh, I don't know how to walk. So, I mean, I've never done it before. So therefore it's impossible. I mean, no one would do that. That sounds ridiculous, but that's the way a lot of people are. There's so many people right now that could be thriving in their lives, but they've never done it yet. So they're not willing to try. So when you don't try, you automatically fail. And a lot of the reason why people aren't trying, and this to answer your question, is because of something from their past. People have no idea how their past is destroying their present and their future.
Indeed. How beautiful. You know, so obviously by working in sales, we learned to connect with people truly and profoundly. But I see that in our days, in our generation, let's say, most people have huge challenges in all kinds of relationships, like family wise, friendship wise, because they just don't listen to each other. I mean, we learn so many things in school, but we don't truly learn to connect humanly, you know, from souls to soul. So you have one of the most amazing techniques to do it. But I just kind of wanted to ask you, how do you see it? And especially understanding human beings, but also being able to truly connect and create rapport with a person. It doesn't matter if you're working in sales or not, it's the same skills.
Yeah, well, you're right, buddy. I mean, it's essential in sales, but it's true of marriages, it's true of parenting, it's true of friendships. So here's the basic premise. Most people don't talk to each other, they talk at each other. They take turns talking at each other. And all they're really waiting for is a break in the communication so they can start talking again. And I'm telling you what, you know, the people who have the best boy-girl, best romantic relationships, people listen to each other. Number one complaint marriage counselors get, he just doesn't listen to me. She just doesn't listen to me. You would be amazed at how many parents have a rotten relationship with their children because they don't listen to them. And in sales, I mean, here's the oldest adage in the world. Find the problem and solve it. You know, find the need and fill it. Well, how do you know what someone's imagine I'm a doctor and you come into me and you go, you just walk through the door and I go, here, take these, you know, I give you something for a sore throat because I have a sore throat. I mean, that's just moronic. A doctor is going to examine you, right? But when you know what, so you don't need to be a doctor, but when you meet someone, you should be examining them. Find out what's going on with them. Ask them questions. And here's the thing, this is what's crazy. Human beings were very insecure. And again, if you've never read any books, if you've never been to any seminars, I'm just telling you point blank, you're way more insecure. You can walk around a bravado, macho, and act like you're not, but you are. If at least admit that you need human attention. People want to be loved, appreciated, respected. So the deal is, in order for other people to give you the attention you want so bad, the easiest way to get it is give them attention first. But since we're starving for attention and we're always wanting people to listen to us, we don't listen to anyone else. So again, I'll tell you this. I mean, if you're single, I'm very blessed that I was married for a long time, thought I'd never have a serious relationship again. And I met this drop dead, beautiful, incredible woman who I'm madly in love with. And you know how I got her attention? Ready? I listened to her. I just listened to her. Like, I listened to her, and I guess no one else was listening to her. And she really liked me because I was sincerely listening to her. So if nothing else, Razvan, maybe there's a few people online tonight who are looking for a serious relationship. If you want to be with someone, listen to them, because a lot of people aren't. And if I listen to you, you're now going to listen to me. And that's what most people want more than anything. So again, this is what's crazy. We train people how to listen, because most people don't know how to listen. As a matter of fact, most people don't give a crap. Most people don't even think it's important. And as you well know, because you've gone through this program, we teach people to listen. We spend a whole day, like 8 hours, teaching people to listen. Then we give them an exam, and most people fail it miserably. And it's the easiest, most ridiculously stupid, easy listening test ever. But it just goes to show you, people put no energy into it. None. Most people, if I had $1 for everyone who tried to get me to train them to be a great speaker, shit, I'd have millions of dollars. If I had $1 for everyone who taught me to be a great listener, I'd probably have $5. People just don't even think it's important. And I'll just share this. I'll give you this last quote. When Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State, which is that's like all the international politics. Think about that role from the United States. It's a very critical role. Hillary Clinton at a leadership conference said, leadership is two things: listening and listening. Like, just think about it. Even like global leaders, how much better would everyone get along if we just sincerely listen to each other? So that's a big one. You know, that's a big thing for me.
Yeah. And if you talked about this and leadership and listening, this just came spontaneously. But I mean, in our world, I mean, most people are so focused on their own world and even sales that they don't listen, also because they don't just care about the person in front of them. And it's kind of a spiritual thing. I wanted to ask you, because if you see Marc on stage, usually he's very, how can I say, firm, if I can call it like that. But deep in his heart, he's truly, he has a heart of gold. And I've seen him acting in so many situations, you know, outside the big stages. And he's always caring genuinely about people. And he's truly a leader because he feels the responsibility. So I wanted to ask you, Marc, because, you know, Marc grew up in near to a Christian church, a Catholic church. But this came like, how did you manage to balance your material life, your earthly life, you know, it's being so successful and so on the field and working with people, with your spiritual life?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So first of all, that's a really good question, actually. I get asked that a lot. And a lot of people say that money is the root of all evil, which is a complete misquote. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. So I will share this with you because, again, I've wrestled with it. A lot of people wrestle with it. So when I learned the law of first things, and again, I don't want to get into what religion you're in, what you believe. This is my belief, that we were supposed to take 10%, the first 10% of whatever we earn and give it to God. That's tithing, it's called. So this was something. So this is what I used to do. I used to like take my money and pay what was really important. If there was money left over, I would definitely tithe it. I would definitely give money. But I was straightened out by a pastor of mine about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, who said, no, 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 no. It's got to be first. It's the law of first things. So I'll get to my point here in a minute. So when I get paid, the first 10% instantly before I do anything else goes to God. Now, if you're not a God person, think about it this way. The first 10% goes to charity. In other words, the first 10% does not go to me. You're either an abundance thinker or a scarcity thinker. And again, this is very basic stuff. So either you believe there's more than enough money to go around and money flows easily to you, or you believe that money is very scarce and it's going to be hard for you to get. Now, if you're a person and you get paid and you give 10% away immediately, what do you think? Is that scarcity thinking or abundance? Clearly, it's abundance thinking. So for me, it's an obedience thing. And all I'll tell you is this. Ever since I started giving my first 10% to God, my income has skyrocketed, and it's just never not. During the worst times, during COVID, it's still been amazingly consistent, because no matter what my income is, the first 10% goes. But it's an abundance mindset. Again, if you're not focused on God, I get it. You don't need to be, but giving it away, man. Think of how many people in this world are unfortunate. Think about how many people will never read a book. They're never going to control their thoughts and emotions. So for me, I just love, and by the way, my deal is the first 10% goes to God, and then another 10% goes to charity. So 20% of my earnings go to not me. So here's my point. I feel like the 80% that's left over, I deserve every penny of it. And again, I'll share this with you. I learned from a very good Jewish friend of mine who brought me to a lecture his rabbi did. And I didn't know that much about the Jewish faith, but the way the rabbi explained it to me is when a Jewish person needs money, they don't pray for money like a lot of the rest of people do. They pray to God for God to bring them people who they can serve. And by serving those people, if it be God's will, then they can have the financial resources they need. And they literally look at their work as a form of praise to God. Like, that's why they're so excellent at what they do, because it's not just work. Think about how many people go to work with a like screw my boss thing. They don't pay me enough money. I'm just going to do as little work as humanly possible to just get through. Where these people are looking at the most mundane job in the world is their worship to God, giving what they say, life is God's gift to us. What we do with it is our gift back. So again, I know that's, for some people, that's a wacky way of looking at it, but I've never been concerned with the lifestyle I lead, and it's a really nice lifestyle, because I give 20% away, and the first 10% for sure. So it works for me. I don't know if it works for everyone. I think some people will never get over that barrier. But again, there's a lot of wealthy people in the Bible. God chose a lot of wealthy people in the Bible to do his work. So it can't be that all people with money are terrible, evil people.
And if you went to this subject with Marc, please.
I'm so sorry. Last thought. This is what I learned about money. Money only makes you more of what you already are. So if you're a jackass, definitely stop making money, because you're just going to become a bigger jackass. And there's a lot of super rich people who are heartless, evil pieces of excrement. But if you're a super nice, caring, loving person, and you get lots and lots of money, you'll be an even nicer, and you can impact way, way, way more lives. So again, don't look at money like money's an inanimate object. How can an inanimate object be the root of all evil? That's ridiculous. It's what you do with it when you get it that's going to really frame your mind around it. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
No worries. And if you spoke about the money, you spoke a lot about the principles of abundance, and serving people and having money as a consequence to touching a lot of lives. And in the same time as COVID came, and obviously, Marc, so many people were challenged profoundly financially. One of those beautiful things you are doing in your programs is about money management, because it doesn't matter how much money you make. Obviously, it's important to give it to God and everything, but also how do you spend your money? How do you invest your money? And and everything like that. And we had a beautiful discussion. We can talk transparently now. Both myself and Marc were colleagues in a company, as I told you, for many years, and we were doing pretty well for many years. But then our company last year went in the, filed for bankruptcy, and he was telling
Yeah.
me how blessed he was for saving money for so many years. We had this beautiful discussion in Dubai. So if you can share a bit about money management.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it goes back to it's all cyclical. So we're going to have high tide and we're going to have low tide. And I think what the average person does, and this is really sad, is they spend whatever they earn. So they spend 100% of their income. So, when things are great, they're living great. When things are bad, they're struggling really bad. And what I learned was, you live on 70% of what you earn. That's what I learned. And it's no fun to live on only 70% of what you earn, because that, by the way, is after taxes. So if I make 100,000 euros and taxes are 30,000, I'm left with 70. I live on 70% of that money, because I'm going to take the first 10%, give it to God. I'm going to take the 10%, and I'm going to give it to my future, my investments, my future. And either I'm going to give that other 10% to my debt reduction or to charity. Again, you can listen. There is no number one rule. You can do this however you want. The point is, you need to learn to live on less than 100% of what you're earning. And then, even when things are terrible, like COVID, man, I do live training events. Live training events. What could have been worse? There was a lot of industries that were rocked, but there haven't been a lot of live training events in the last 18 months. My income definitely was challenged tremendously, but because of a lot of future planning for a rainy day, if you will, everything is fine. You know what I mean? And I know that things will switch. The one thing you got to understand is, when you're in a dry season, it's going to change. Like, think about the 4 seasons of the year. When you're in winter, a lot of people are in a winter situation financially right now. It's going to turn to spring, meaning things are going to start to bud and there's going to be some growth. And then, boom, we'll get to a summer situation again. So don't despair. And this is another interesting thing about human nature, Razvan, and you know this. It's like, why is it that as a human, when things are great, we think it's only going to last for a short period of time? But when things are bad, we feel like it's going to last forever and ever and ever. And it's not. This too shall pass. This season is going to be done. This season is going to be over. But I'll share this with you also. It's like, look, there's 2 skills. And again, we teach this at our Journey program. Earning money is a skill, but spending money is a skill also. Nothing gives me more thrill, honestly, is showing people how to pay off their debt properly. The average person is so ignorant as to how to pay debt down that when you show them the cascading debt formula, it's like you showed them like a color movie for the first time, and they've been watching black and white their whole life. Like, are you kidding me? There used to be a commercial in the United States that said, if you have $8,000 worth of credit card debt at 18% interest and you pay the minimum payment every month, it asked the question, how long does it pay off the debt? So if you don't know this, 8,000 in debt at 18% interest, paying the minimum payment every month. How long would you think it would take to pay off 8,000 in debt? It takes 47 years to pay off 8,000. 47 years if you're making the minimum payment. Now, if you take the minimum payment, the same exact thing, $8,000 in debt, 18% interest, but instead of making the minimum payment, you make the minimum payment plus $500 extra dollars. It doesn't take 47 years. It takes 18 months. Wow, is that a big difference? So again, you don't need to have tons of money. And it's the same thing, by the way, with investing. Most people, ready for this, are waiting to get out of debt before they invest. Where with investing, it's not how much money you're putting in every month. It's how long you're doing. It's called compound interest. Robert Kiyosaki, a lot of you guys have heard of Robert Kiyosaki. He says flat out, either you're a slave to money or money is your slave. And it's going to be based on your philosophy around spending money. So yeah, I love teaching people this stuff because there's a lot of people, man. There's a book called The Millionaire Next Door. And it's so great. It goes to show you a lot of millionaires are not people who've earned $1 million in a year. They're average people, make a little bit above average earnings, but man, are they disciplined on how they spend their money. So yeah, I loved sharing that with people.
Yeah, and if we spoke about money management, one of the most beautiful lessons I learned from you when I was 26 was about also time management. And I was having a discussion with a dear friend a few weeks ago, Marc, that, she's really a beautiful human being, but she's a mom, she's a wife, she is having her own business, anyway, doing accountant, being an accountant, and then she's starting a new business, and she also wants to have time for her soul to meditate and passions, and she was doing just all of them at the same time. It was crazy. She was not a good mom, and it was basically impossible. So can you talk about how to prioritize, your activities, and also how to do your time management every day, please?
Yeah, that's a good thing. Well, as far as business goes, probably the number one thing for business is you got to know what is your peak income generating activity or activities. And then you need to know your peak income generating hours. Now, if you are not doing your peak income generating activities during your peak income generating hours, you're going to dramatically reduce how much money you're going to make. It's that simple. So if you're in sales, if you're in your own business, it's suicide if you're not doing your peak income generating hours during the peak income activities during the peak hours. Now, from a just life balance perspective, you hit the nail on the head, is priorities. What are your priorities? And again, we do this exercise that makes people write down what your priorities are. And there's nothing, this is for you. It's not for your significant other. It's for you. You got to be honest with yourself. What is the most important thing to you? So if the most important thing to you, let's just say, and by the way, it changes based on the season of your life you're in. So imagine you're in a situation where you're significantly overweight and your self-esteem is very low because you're overweight, you don't feel attractive, you don't even feel like anyone would want to go out with you. So you go into a season of your life where you're going to work on fitness. You're going to go to the gym for 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you make it your number one priority above and beyond anything. It goes into your schedule before anything else. And sure enough, you do it for a year and a half, you lose a whole bunch of weight, you're in great shape. So at that point, you may say, okay, well, I did that. I don't need to, in order to maintain where I'm at now, I don't need to be there 7 days a week, 2 hours a day. So you're changing your number one priority. Maybe you get involved in a brand new business that gives you the opportunity to get wealthy like we did in network marketing. And all of a sudden you're going, okay, this is my number one priority. So you overswing a pendulum. A pendulum is perfect balance, but let's say you swing it over here now, and instead of working 40 hours a week like most people, you're working 70 hours a week. You know what I mean? Because you're in this season, but then you're making a bunch of money and then you have a child and you're like, oh my gosh, my child is now 18 months old and they're getting cuter and cuter. So now my number one priority is going to be spending more time with my family. So whatever your number one priority is, that goes into your schedule first. And I'll give you, this will crack people up. Guess what my number one priority is? I'm 60 years old. I operate at I need to, in order to do my career, operate at a very peak level on a regular basis. So my number one priority every day is sleep. 8 hours of sleep every day. I do not function well. I don't feel well without 8 hours sleep. So when I'm doing my day timer, as idiotic as this might sound to you, that's the first thing I put in. That way, for sure, I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep. Now, again, I'm not saying get 8 hours sleep 365 days a year, but I do 300 days a year. No matter how good you set up a priority, from time to time, you're not going to be able to keep your objectives. But the point is, you need to be intentional about it. And you need to understand, here's what's crazy, is when your number one priority is not your number one goal. So in
Mhm.
other words, if you're trying to get rich, but your number one priority is getting in shape, well, that doesn't work. You know what I mean? So a lot of times people aren't even aware of this kind of stuff. And when you can say, this is number one, this is number two, this is number three, then all of a sudden, think about how much stress. I think, okay, I'll give you an example. So you're in a business, you're working hard to get rich, but you're also in a family with a bunch of young children. So both, you love your family, you love your job, you're trying to get rich for your family, and those two things are constantly at odds. So I want to do something with my son on Tuesday night, but I've got a really important business meeting. What do I do? And every time there's a conflict, you have an emotional meltdown. Unless you decide which one is your number one priority for this season of your life and you predetermine it, then every time there's a conflict, there is no conflict because you go to priority number one without even thinking about it. By the way, if you're doing stuff like that, you should talk to your spouse about it. You shouldn't make your number one priority if you're in a relationship without talking. And I'll go a step further. Like when I've been in seasons of my life where business was overswung and I was like really focused on my career, I didn't just talk to my significant other, I talked to my children about it as well, because you got to get everybody's buy-in. While you're asking the next question, Razvan, I just got a notification my battery's low. I'm going to go get a brick. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to get a
Sure.
charging
No
brick.
worries. We'll be here. And while Mark comes back, um, I was telling you about the beautiful effect Mark had on my life. But most of us, we have the intention to be well with ourselves and be financially successful and have success in our careers. But usually it's like a shawarma with doing everything without having the right strategy. So one of the beautiful things I got from Mark for the last 7 years is, having the right strategies in all aspects of your life, right? Mentally, emotionally, health wise, time
Mhm.
management, money management, because they're like a car. You cannot have just the engine of the car running. You have to have the wheels and the air conditioning and all the pieces that make a car work. So I guess all these things are kind of like the same thing that makes a car do what it does, how to do on an airplane or everything. And Martin, as you came back, because you talked about the 8 hours of sleep, and this question also came, and you mentioned actually earlier, because we're in a period where I hope that most people will learn to appreciate their bodies more and health, and we all realize that health is pretty important. It doesn't matter how successful you are financially if you are sick. And uh, I, I mean, Mark told you already he's 60 years old, but I mean he's one of the uh, finest, sexiest 60 years old I ever met. And I know he spent so much time, in the, I'm joking, obviously. He's a dear friend, but he truly puts it as a priority. He's always going to the gym and having the right balance and doing so many things, going to the best doctors, not for healing something but for prevention. And again, the way you when you put focus and attention into something, obviously it creates the right result. So can you talk just a bit about health? This is not a nutrition interview, but I mean,
Yeah.
how important it is for you and how you give attention to it. You gave it
Yeah.
for
Well,
10 years.
I learned, when I was wanting to get my body transformed, I learned that truthfully, 80% of looking good is your diet, not just
Hmm.
looking good, actually feeling good. And now it's, I definitely like to look good, but as I'm getting older, it's much more about feeling good. And what I focus on, my doctors have got me on, is an anti-inflammation diet. The number one thing that causes really the root cause of any disease that you and I don't want to have is inflammation in our blood. So there's an anti-inflammation diet. It's actually very similar to the Mediterranean diet, but
Hmm.
everything I eat, I look at it and say, and my doctors taught me how to do this. You can Google this. It's not that complicated. Is this going to cause inflammation or is it going to reduce inflammation? Either it's going to increase. So we're like a big container, a big whatever box or jar of chemicals. That's what we are, humans. So when you put something into your body, within 20 to 30 minutes, there's going to be a chemical reaction. So is it an inflammation or an anti-inflammation response that what you put into your body? So vegetables, anti-inflammation. Alcohol, inflammation. Red meat, inflammation. You know what I mean? So you that's what I'm doing when I'm looking at every time. Now, I'll also tell you this. I'm not that person who I'm eating, you know, only raw organic. Like I try to eat organic whenever I can. I try to be good whenever I can, but it's 80-20. Like I'm in this beautiful resort with my girlfriend, and we're going to go to some exquisite meals here in the next couple of days. And I assure you, I'm going to eat too many calories, and I'm going to definitely eat some things that are not the most nutritious things in the world, but it's only a little here and there. It's definitely the rare is it's the rule. I'm sorry, it's not the rule, it's the exception. So I'm really good with my eating 80% of the time, and I'm bad 20% of the time. And if I feel for whatever reason my health is in a crisis situation, then it'll be 90-10, and I'll just turn it up a little bit. Same thing as far as, by the way, exercise. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't need to get on a treadmill and sweat, but you need to move your body.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, it's not just for your physical body, it's for your mental. People don't realize that when your heartbeat raises and when you do break a sweat, you release endorphins in your brain. I mean, it really is important stuff. So again, I love sharing. What's the point of being super rich if you die young? What's the point of having this incredible, amazing family if your health is so bad that it's dramatically altering you living your life? What I want to do is have a lot of years in my life, but a lot of life in my years at the same time.
Mm.
My dad lived to 94, but man, my mom lived into her late 80s, but their quality of life was so low because they were not intentional about it. I guess the easiest way to say it is this. You go and think about buying your dream car. Would it be a Bentley? Would it be a Ferrari, a Maserati? Whatever your dream car is crazy expensive. If you bought that car, would you treat it like crap? Would you put the worst gas in it? Because think about this. I don't care how great a car is. If you bought a Bentley, the longest you're going to be able to keep it is 15, maybe 20 years. That would be extraordinary if it lasted that long. So if you live a while, you're going to have 3, 4, probably more like 8 or 10 cars in your lifetime. And when you beat one up and you abuse it, you just trade it in and get another one. Well, you get one body. You can't
Mhm.
trade it in. So you really need to pay attention to what you're putting in your body and what you're doing. So it's water consumption, it's breathing, all this stuff. There's a lot to it, but it's definitely sleep, it's definitely food consumption, it's exercise, meditating, praying, all of that, because it's all intertwined. But my physical health is a major focus in my life. Because again, I want to thrive. I don't want to just get by. I don't want to always be tired. I don't always want to be lethargic. I want to be vibrant as much as I can of every day of my life.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. So I have one last question, and then I want to move together to a surprise we have for the ones that are
Okay.
watching about something that is happening in the next couple of weeks. But my last question before I ask you, I just want to empower it before I ask you this question, because obviously I read a lot about the power of intentions and setting goals and stuff like that. But when I met Mark the first time, I was 26 years old. I remember we were in Rome, if you remember. Uh,
Yep.
and
Very well.
let's say I was having the best time of my life. I just went bankrupt from my company. I invested my last money in a gym that was not working. So I went there with my partner, but it was kind of challenging. And for
Yep.
sure, I've set goals before, I can say. But um, what happened with Mark then, it truly in just one evening, basically my whole life was shaped, I guess, because I put intentions on all aspects of my life, and I can talk about all of them. But obviously, this is not a point. I can just share with you that when I went there and met Mark, I was making maybe 1, 2,000 euro a month, and then I made my first $1 million in just a few years. So I wanted to kindly ask you, Mark, to talk about the power of having the intentions, and the goals, and really setting up, and not just having dreams, because everyone has dreams, right?
Right.
But having
Right.
strategies and intentions with the right commitment and the right effort, to have them happen, manifest them into reality.
Yeah, well, you're right. This is a big deal for me. Normal goal setting sessions kind of irritate me. So when we do it, it's about, again, in the program I do for this, it's 4 days of delete, delete. Well, I'm sorry, it's 1 day of delete, delete, delete. Then we spend 2.5 days filling you back up with like empowering you, making you feel positive that success is possible. You know, I remember when I first started doing this, like I couldn't even write my goals down because I just didn't think I was capable of it. So we get you all set, we build you up, but then you need to understand, and this is a big thing. In order for you to achieve something, this sounds bizarre, but you don't need to know how to do it. When you put it into your unconscious mind, and I'm sure by now you've probably heard of something called the law of attraction. We just don't have time to get into it right now, but there is absolutely a truth that you can program your unconscious mind. So you have your conscious mind. You like right now you're listening to me with your conscious mind and you're going, this guy's full of shit, or yeah, I believe this. Like it's almost like you're consciously deciding yes or no all day long, yes or no. But right now your heart's beating, and that's not, you didn't just say with your conscious mind, okay, beat, heart, beat, breathe. There's so many things going on that are driven by your unconscious mind. Your dreams are your unconscious mind. So many of the thoughts that come into your head are your unconscious mind. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of what drives your behavior is your unconscious mind. So what if you programmed your unconscious mind with things that would create and draw success into your life? And what if you didn't just do it with finances? You did it with your physical being, you do it with your spiritual being, you did it with everything. And I know it sounds like too good to be true, but it's not. Listen, everything I've achieved in my life in the last 35 years, I programmed it before it happened. I decided what I wanted. Then I went ahead and I programmed my unconscious mind. And then I did, of course, make a plan of action. You can say, again, I love Lisa Nichols is one of the authors of the movie The Secret, which is where the law of attraction came so popular. They talk about manifesting things, you know, that's kind of what we're talking about. But manifesting doesn't mean anything if you don't take action. You need to get off your ass and go to work. So you need to program your unconscious mind, then have a plan of action, and then you need to have a little chat with yourself and understand true success comes from one thing: discipline. Do the work, do the work, do it over and over and over again. There's no way I can program your unconscious mind. You're going to sit on your ass every day and you're going to get rich. That's not going to happen. I can't program your unconscious mind to attract this incredible soulmate in your life, and then you're going to not treat them well, or you're going to neglect them or ignore them. So it's a combination of a lot of different things, but it starts with you programming your unconscious mind. And again, I didn't learn that in high school. My mom and dad didn't teach me that. I'm just so blessed that maybe like Razvan had his life transformed by me, I had my life transformed by my mentor. All we're really doing is we're sharing uncommon knowledge with you so that you can apply it to your life. And again, there's no guarantees, but man, do things. Listen, to me, if you're not using this type of technique, the chance of you having a rich, successful life, it's almost like winning the lottery. It's possible, but it's by mistake and it's unlikely. But if you're intentional about what you're doing, while there's no guarantee, the odds of you succeeding in whatever area of your life you're working on become significantly better. And that's exciting stuff.
Beautiful. So, Mark, now I want us to talk about the topics of topics. And as I said, I have a surprise for you guys, and I will be completely transparent. I invited Mark here for two reasons. First of all, because I wanted to get you guys to get a bit of his obviously wisdom and life experience, not just in sales and personal and production in business, but I mean in life generally. But the second reason why I wanted Mark to be here is because for the first time in almost 2 years, 1 year and a half, whatever, since this pandemic started, he will be in Europe doing an event that for me had one of the most profound transformations I ever had in my life. And Mark, I have to do this to share about the personal philosophy I have, because there are people watching us from all kinds of environments, but I have a big group watching us from the camps I'm organizing, the spiritual camps. And the challenge that I'm seeing, for example, with, and again, don't take it as the ultimate truth if you are watching this, it's just my personal philosophy, but obviously observing what's going on around, that a lot of the people that are into business and sales and all kinds of things, not necessarily and not generally, but a big part of them are pretty disconnected spiritually and disconnected from their souls, their relationships, God, and everything else. So it's important to have the right balance, but also, and this is what I wanted to talk about, also a lot of the people that move into spirituality, and obviously we pray and we meditate and we give enough time to our souls and God, but these people have a pretty big challenge on integrating that in the day-to-day life, because if you just stay on the mountain and you pray and you meditate all day, obviously you are zen and dancing in the clouds, being a flower power, but then reality kicks in and it just slaps you, because it doesn't matter what you manifest just in your inner world, you see the results, if you want to call it like that, also here on earth. That's why we came here. So the program that Marc is doing actually is the only program that doesn't necessarily have to do with just sales and business. It's a whole life transformation program. And I've been to seminars all around the world. I did most of Tony Robbins' events and John Maxwell. I'm a certified trainer at most of them, and they're wonderful and very good into what they do. But I'm telling you with all my heart, this is one of the best programs in the world because it's complete. It's built as a program. It's called Journey, and Marc will share some things about it. But it's built so that in 4 days you basically just uh, decompose your life, if you want to call it like that, in all aspects of your existence, and you really manage to zoom in all aspects of your being, from your childhood to your health, your spirituality, to your time management, money management, everything that Marc talked earlier a bit. Uh, and then you see what's going on wrong so that you can just align it to what you really want to experience in the years ahead. And I know it will be a tremendous sell for everyone. I'm not earning any money. Yeah, I'm actually coming for it. I think it's my fifth time I'm going to this program. I'm
Yeah.
paying my own money, but because it's here, it's in Europe, and it's Marc's event done after 1 year and a half or whatever. And I just wanted you guys, if you resonated with the messages in just a few tens of minutes, I really wanted him to be here so people can have access to his beautiful experience and wisdom. So Marc, if you can talk a little bit about Journey, which is coming in 3 weeks in Croatia, if you can want to
Sure.
share something about the program, please do so.
Sure, buddy. Well, it is for Secret Direct, which is the company I'm director of training in. But yeah, we do open it to other people. And the reason we do that is over the years when I did this business, so many people who graduated from it, like Razvan, were like, I want to bring my kids, my adult kids. I want to bring my spouse. I want to bring my best friends. I want to bring my sister. I want to bring my parents. I mean, it was crazy how many people wanted to expose the people in their life they care and love a lot to this program. So we really do open up, and it's very listen. I don't care what business you're doing; it'll help for sure. But overall, like man, people's relationships with their children have changed dramatically. Their physical health has changed dramatically. And here's what I'm proud of. I love, Razvan mentioned Tony Robbins, probably the benchmark of the best of anyone. There's so many guys and women who are great. John Asroff, I could name 10 off the top of my head. But I will tell you, this is the least expensive seminar you will ever go to in your life to get that kind of a powerful delivery. I mean, Date with Destiny, I went to Tony Robbins' main program last year, and it was $5,000 per person. $5,000. That's it was amazing. $5,000 where we do Journey for $500. And I mean, yeah, Split, Croatia, which is one of the most drop dead beautiful places in the world, right next to Croatia National Parks. We always do our events somewhere gorgeous, somewhere amazing, so that we can mix business and pleasure. So I'm just really excited about it. It's almost sold out at this point. We limit the amount of people that we can bring because it's meant to be an intimate seminar. So I think we'll max out at 300 people at this event. And it's just awesome because not only do we get it's a program like Razvan said where you get a workbook when you get there. It's being done in English, We will translate not only the book, but live simultaneous translation into Italian, French, and Romanian as well. And man, I'm just telling you, it's powerful. It's strong. You get a book, you work on a project. I'm sort of guiding you through it. And when you're done, you share it with the team that you're on. You get so many different people's perspectives. And then we move on to another deal. And there's so much self discovery. But trust me when I tell you, I'm going to guide you where you need to be. If you're not getting it, I'll make sure you get it. That's why you're paying to come to the event. It's not just a workbook, it's the workbook, but you get your own stuff. But I will make sure the most important points you get. Because again, this is a training I put together based upon what changed my life, not just what changed my business, what changed my life. And we haven't done it in Europe in over 2 years. So I am overwhelmingly excited to bring this training. And I know I'm going to get to see a lot of people like Razvan, who are my incredibly good friends. And I love the fact that people reattend this event 5 and even 10 times over their careers because they get value out of it. And they're always bringing someone they love back with them. So, you know, if you are able to get one of those last slots, it would be awesome. I would just tell people, if you're going to, you know, especially at that price point, if you want to do it, you should take the slot quickly because they will definitely fill up.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Mark. As Mark mentioned, the event for a ticket is $500. If I just consider how much money I made after attending
Oh,
that event, and obviously I'm talking just financially, it's by far the best investment I made in my life. But again, like Mark said, it's not just financially; it's really about giving 4 days to your soul, to your family, to your everything actually that has to do with you and your existence, and just dedicating those 4 days to complete transformation. So I just wanted to end with the fact that we're already, I guess, I don't know, 40, 50 people from my personal group with friends of mine that were going there. Some of them are Romanian, Italian, and all around the world. We
yeah,
already have a hotel arranged. So if you guys want
yeah.
to come and you want to give yourself a beautiful vacation, it's 20 to 24th of August. The event is $500 extra, some money for the hotel and an airplane. But two things will happen. The first and most important, honey, you'll have 4 profound days of complete transformation. But the second one, come on, you'll have a vacation with some awesome, amazing people that are on
Oh,
their uh, growth path also. So if you
well,
guys
I
are
hope.
interested,
Can I say, I really, I know we'll have a lot of people from the business that you're working, but I know you've had a lot of success with your spiritual camps, and I am
yeah.
really hoping we get a bunch of the folks. I mean, I know I don't know very many of them, but it would be awesome because I know if they're following your guidance and counseling as far as that goes, that this would be so in alignment with that. So it would be great. I would be honored to get a chance to work with some of those
Yeah.
folks. I guess we just is the link. Where can they get the link for it, brother? Is
Yeah.
that
So the ones of you who are in the spiritual camps, you can talk directly to Ramona, my colleague, and she will guide you exactly how to book, and she will tell you about the hotel and everything. So it's in about 3 weeks from now. And the ones of you who are from my Facebook pages or Instagram or the Rock team, obviously, some of you are part of the organization. We are colleagues with Mark. And the other ones, I guess, just write me in private. And again, Ramona, who is taking care also of my social media, or myself, will answer you and give you exactly the links and details and also the hotel, so on and so forth. It's just the most important thing is for you to take the decision and join us. It will be the trip of a lifetime, inside and as a trip itself.
yeah?
Beautiful. So, Mark, thank you so
Well,
much, my brother. I'm so grateful you
oh,
came here
my
tonight.
pleasure. You're right. It's long overdue, man. I'm really glad we finally get a chance to do it. And again, buddy, I know we've done a lot of great things in the past, but I think our best years are ahead of us. And you know, I know you're all about having a major. This is what's great about this. You came in, and I know you came in obviously with a primary intention of financial success when you first went through Journey. But I look at it and see the huge amount of lives you're impacting. What gets me excited is how many people will come to this year's event, maybe again with a primary desire to learn about finances, but just think about how many lives can be impacted over the next 10 or 20 years by the people who go through this program and get that light to go off for them. Because it's, again, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about how many people can we get paying it forward. So it's an honor to be here with you, brother, and I can't wait to hang out and catch up in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Say hi to Sarah. Happy birthday again.
I
And
will.
enjoy your time there, wherever you are.
All right, we will, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone have
Have
a
a
great
beautiful evening, everyone, and hopefully we'll see each other in Croatia soon.